What's up everybody? Welcome back. Today I'm going to show you how to build this automatic elevator here in LEGO Fortnite Odyssey. Not only is this thing built with free parts, but it's also very cheap and easy to put together. And aside from just showing you how to build this, we're going to give you two different options on how this thing can operate. The first being where it rises all the way to the top and will automatically return down to the ground once you step off the pressure plate. And the second option will be actually using a trigger plate that's going to allow this to go all the way up to the top and sit and wait for you until you're ready to take this thing back down to the ground. If it's your first time here and you like what you see, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe for more LEGO Fortnite content. All right, that's enough of me yapping. Let's go ahead and get right into the build. Here's a quick look at the material list here. Now, I do want to point out that for the granite and wood, the amount you're going to need is all going to be dependent on the size, but all of the other materials are at least a minimum of what you're going to need for the functional parts. All right, so for the first step of this build, we're going to go into our building parts here and grab a 16 by 16 by 2 foundation and place it down. But next, what we're going to do is we're just going to grab any 2 by 4 by 12 wall. Now, I'm using granite or better here. It's a little bit more durable. I don't recommend using wood, but if that's all you have, definitely do that. And we're just going to place these basically like horizontally in all 4 of the corners here. And then we just need to grab a 2 by 2 by 12 corner and we're just going to place them right here. This creates like this little tiny L shape in the corners here. Our next step is to figure out the height you need. Now, this is all going to be dependent on location and the building you're putting this in. However, it's just the same thing we've done here. We're not going to sit here and build up for the video, but we're just going to take the same exact pieces on all 4 of our corners and continue to build up till you reach your desired height. And to find your desired height, let's just pretend that we're on the floor that we want to get off the elevator on. First thing we're going to do is build up to that point. You can see you're just below that floor there. And then we're going to build up a little bit further here using the same pieces that we used previously. What we're going to do next is in the same area we grabbed these, we're going to find these half walls. They're the 2 by 4 by 6. You want to build pretty much like a story and a half above your floor. This is going to give us enough room to have the elevator hit the top and walk directly out here. I think we might have went a little bit overkill. I'm definitely not going to have to build anything that high, but I just want to show you that no matter how high you build this, it still works really well. Next, we're going to make our way on the inside here and just make sure all 4 of your corners are looking nice and even. And then when we look up, you have all of the pieces going all the way up towards the top. And then we're going to come into the toys section here under switches and controls and grab this pressure plate. The idea here is we're going to place it right in this corner here. Just make sure it's touching the ground, or I should say touching the actual foundation piece. And then we're going to do one over here in the opposing corner, basically facing each other, both facing inward. So take a look. That's how it should be looking for you before we move on to the next step. Now let's go into our floor pieces here. I'm going to be using these beachy boulevards, but you don't need to use these ones particularly. We just need to make sure that it is a 16 by 2 by 1 thin floor. And once we have that selected, what we're going to do is we're going to aim right at the black part of this pressure plate here. And we're going to nudge this thing up until it turns green, and then we're going to nudge it over towards us until it turns red. Now, once it turns red, go ahead and nudge it back just one more space and place that down. It is a little difficult to see what's happening here, but once you have that one in, we can go ahead and punch this out. Do not use a pickaxe for any of the things you're breaking. If you make one wrong move, you're gonna have to build an entire pillar again, and we don't want that to happen. You can see here when you punch stuff, or at least the granite, it's not gonna break it. And then next, take the same thin floor piece and we're just gonna snap it into the one we just placed down. And then we're just gonna nudge this thing over to the other side. Again, once it turns red, just nudge it over until it's green and place it down. And then let's turn around and do the same thing over here. So again, we're going to grab that same thin floor piece, whatever one you choose to use. Just make sure, again, it's 16 by 2 by 1. We're basically going to get this thing all the way into the corner here. Now, once it's red, again, we're just going to nudge it forward one until it's green. And the other thing to check, too, is just make sure that it's pretty much flush against these corners for all of these pieces you put in. If it's not going to work. And again, here, we're just going to get rid of this. Punch, don't pick. And then we're going to snap it in. We're going to nudge it all the way over until we're directly into the corner here. Next, let's go back to the 2 by 2 by 12 corner that we used earlier. And we're not going to place it against the outside here where we have the actual thin floors we just placed down. We're going to place it to the opposite side. So we're going to put one right here. And then we're going to do the same thing right here on the other side. And just like we've done before, we're actually going to go back to the pressure plate. We're going to go ahead and snap one down, make sure it's touching the ground, and do another one right over here on the other side. And same as we did previously, we're gonna go back to our thin floors and aim at that black part of the pressure plate. And we're gonna nudge this into position here. We're gonna have to nudge it up until we're basically green, and then we're gonna nudge it over until it turns red, and then nudge it forward. And once it's green, place it down. Now, I just went against my own advice there. I was not supposed to swing this pickaxe. Let's hurry up and put that away before we screw something up. Now, we want to get these same pieces on the opposite side here. So we're just going to go ahead and snap it in and nudge it over and get that into position. And then the same thing over here on the other side. Now we actually are going to be required to break out the good old pickaxe, and we need to clean up these extra corners that we put in. So let's break that out. Go on over to the other side and do the same exact thing. And very important, before proceeding with this build, just take a look and make sure that all of your thin floor pieces here are looking very even in the exact same position that I'm showing you now. You will have a very slight gap between them, which is totally fine. We just want to make sure that we don't have any more of a gap than what I'm showing you now, and also checking to make sure that the heights are even across. You can easily do this by just making sure that all of your thin floor pieces are touching the foundation block below. Now the next part is really easy but very repetitive. We're just gonna snap in the same thin floor pieces against the ones that we've already installed, and just continue to do this on every single corner until you've reached the desired height of your elevator shaft. Now we need to create some stoppers up here so our elevator doesn't just go floating up into space. We're gonna use these medium fenders. This is in the vehicle parts of the toys section. We're just gonna aim right at the corner here, and we're gonna rotate this until it's upside down, nudge this thing up. We're gonna place one right in the corner like that. We're gonna hop over here and do the exact same thing here on the other side. And then just get a quick look to make sure you place these at even heights. You don't want your elevator to hit the top with uneven stoppers, because it can cause some problems. Now we're gonna build out the actual elevator, but I stress the importance of making sure you follow every single step here. Don't skip ahead, because trust me, one wrong move is gonna cost you a ton of time and cost me a ton of headache from having to read people complaining in the comments that these things don't work. The first thing we need to do is we actually need to break out these floor pieces here. So we're gonna go ahead and chop these things down. I recommend punching them. The last thing you wanna do is knock down your actual pillar here. I'm just gonna go ahead and brave it out and get these things taken care of. We're actually gonna knock down the first two. These will be replaced later, but unfortunately, if you build this out with these there, it's gonna actually connect to the elevator and it won't move anywhere. It's just gonna be stuck. So clean up the first two thin floor pieces in all four corners, and then we're gonna go ahead and build this thing out. Now go to toys under vehicle parts. We're gonna grab the small car jack, and we're just gonna make sure that this is center on the foundation block and place it down. Next, we're gonna grab a 8x8x1 floor piece. There's a variety of free options, including the rustic floor. We've also got the castle floor from Majestic Manors. We've got two more too from the Shogun Palace. Because I'm building this one out here and I actually like the white floors, I'm gonna go with the paid set, which is the beachy floor. But again, it just needs to be the 8x8x1, and then make sure that this is center on your car jack and center on the actual foundation. You could do that by just coming underneath here and just making sure that the outside edge is very even all the way around. And now we're gonna grab a 6x2x1 thin floor, and we're just gonna outline the floor piece that we just put down. You should be able to get 4 of these on really easily. And this is gonna create a nice little pocket for our pressure plate. Now that we have that little pocket there in the middle, we can use two things, either a pressure plate or a trigger plate. But let me explain the difference before you choose. For pressure plates, this is going to actually lift the elevator all the way up to the top, and as soon as you step off, or wherever you step off, it's going to slowly float back down to the ground. If we're going to be using a trigger plate, this is actually going to go all the way up to the top and remain there until you step back on the trigger plate to cause it to start coming down back to the ground. So whichever you choose, we're going to drop that right in the middle here. And then just grab the same 8x8x1 floor that you use, and we're just going to stack this right up on top to cover up our pressure plate. Now let's take any 2x2x12 corner post, and we're gonna line it up in the corner of the floor piece, but that's not where we're gonna snap it in. Once we get it in that corner, we're gonna nudge it away from us one, and then nudge it over one to where it's just barely hanging on. We're gonna do the same thing in all 4 of the corners here. And then let me show you real quick. This is how you can check to make sure they're in the right spots. We're just gonna drop down here. You're gonna have a very little gap between the corner post and the wall. And you just wanna make sure that they're all even, looking just like this. Then with the same 8x8x1 piece, let's just go ahead and put this on top centered. You're gonna have it looking like this, where you just basically have 3 studs on every one of those posts that we just put down exposed. Next, go back to toys. We're gonna grab small balloons and we're gonna place one right in this corner, and then we're gonna place another one over in this corner. And then we're gonna remove our car jack. Just make sure that you put the roof on top of this thing, otherwise you're gonna have to rebuild the elevator. So let's go ahead and let it go. What should happen now is this should fly all the way up to the top, and this is gonna give us some room to add back those tracks that we removed, which were those thin floor pieces here. If you build those while that's there, it's gonna actually make all your balloons explode, including your pressure plate. So let's put those back. Now before the next step, just make sure that all of those are back all the way down to that foundation block. Next, I'm grabbing these simple small wheels from our toy section here, and I'm putting them in all 4 corners at the bottom of the elevator shaft. This is to cushion the fall, because we're gonna go ahead and fly all the way up here to retrieve our elevator. I really apologize if you're doing this in expert mode. If you are in survival, definitely turn on fly mode, but we're gonna knock out both of these balloons. This thing is going to come crashing all the way down, and cushion from those wheels are gonna save this thing from breaking. So you can actually leave those wheels if you're worried about this breaking. However, I'm just gonna show you, I'm gonna get rid of them. I haven't had these on any of the ones I've built. So now we're gonna head on top of the elevator itself, and we're gonna grab a small balloon. Now we're gonna have this, it's not center now, and that's the point here I'm gonna show you, is that we're gonna have it just slightly off to the right or left. We're not gonna have it lined up with the back of the floor, just nudge it forward 1 and place that down. And now if you just leave your character in the angle it was when you placed it down, you want to nudge this over to the center, and we're just going to slightly angle our camera down until we're making contact with the floor, and then we're going to nudge this back until we're in the center. And if it's still not green, just continuously slowly bring your camera down until it's green and place down that balloon, and then pop this balloon out, and then we're going to have this thing come slowly down until we reach the bottom. And then we're gonna grab 2 activated balloons. Now these aren't gonna need to be center. I recommend putting them just slightly behind center and all the way towards the outside edge, and we're gonna place 2 of these down. So there is an occasional bug to where when you actually step on the pressure plate, it doesn't work. And that's exactly what's happening right now. So if that's happening to you, all you need to do is go ahead and actually return to lobby, and then we're gonna load back in and it should work. All right, so we're back in. If all is working fine, we should be able to hop on this thing, and it should actually take us up to the top. And just like that, we are cruising up pretty quick. This thing is very quiet, it's very smooth, and even when you get to the top, it doesn't break anything. And if you want to stay on the elevator, all you need to do is slightly walk forward off that pressure plate, and this thing is going to come all the way down to the bottom by itself. Now it is moving pretty quick, but like I said, that central balloon is going to save this from hitting and breaking any of the parts. So at this point, you're likely gonna have a gap between the elevator and your floors. Let me show you what you definitely don't wanna do when closing that gap. Whatever you do, do not make contact with the thin floors that you use for the tracking in the corner. All you're gonna be able to do is just use 1 piece to fill in this gap. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our balloons after we place this down. This should not have done anything to our toy pieces, but the minute you touch these with anything after this point, it's gonna blow up your balloons, and it's gonna blow up the pressure plate in which activates those balloons. Feel free at this point to dress it up. You can close it in, add design and stuff, but again, #1 rule, don't touch the thin floor pieces. Seriously, just don't do it. You can see even the inside of the elevator's fair game. I put some lights in there. You can even go as far as snapping in and closing in the back end here, so we can snap into this piece. If you nudge that forward and hit that, it's a wrap, so make sure you're lined up with the pieces. I actually recommend not doing that. Maybe go ahead and build like around the perimeter. If you enjoyed this build, be sure to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos like this. Thank you so much for tuning in. Haskins is signing off. I will catch you all in the next one.